Hello, welcome to Super Geeks Mycelial. Did I say it right this time? Mycelial?
No, you did not.
I'm not doing a
Start
retake.
over. It's Mycelial.
No, I'm not doing a start over. It's just we're gonna go with it. It's the mycelial.
It's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, George.
Mycelial. Mycelial. It's the mycelial.
Mycelial.
It's mycelial.
Mycelial. Mycelial.
I'm keeping this all in there. I don't care.
You know, I prepare a PowerPoint display presentation.
All right, we're talking about Discovery. It's MNN. Good enough. We're talking about Discovery. It's MNN. Star Trek Discovery, not the Discovery Channel. We have to clarify. Because if we talk about this, the other one, that's kind of annoying. Anyways, this is season 2, episode 8. It's called If Memory Serves. And there goes my memory because I couldn't remember how to pronounce Mycelial.
You're just shooting yourself in the foot over and over again.
My Little Pony? I don't know.
There you go. Perfect.
Anyways.
Forward, how about you just say, when you get to it, just say Carlos, Sean, Raul, and we'll just fill in.
And you say MNN, and we'll fill it in.
We'll in unison.
All right.
If we really work on it, we can also do it in 3-part harmony.
We could.
Exactly.
Network news.
Like a barbershop quartet. Perfect.
See, now we're getting into some areas that we might have to make as a separate goofy, spoofy thing. But a blooper thing. But, so Star Trek Discovery, Season 2, Episode 8, If Memory Serves, off to a great start.
Okay, wait a minute. Hold up. Before you get started, I swear to God, I thought you were going to say Star Trek Discovery sucks.
I don't know how you got that impression. But anyways, you can explain later. So this episode... Oh, and I want to introduce our guest. He is Kasey Shafsky. Did I pronounce that right?
You got it.
Kasey, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started. You have done some things, haven't you?
I've done a few things.
I got your IMDb pulled up, but you tell us, what have you worked on that makes you interesting in the world of sci-fi and Star Trek?
Well, I was a unit production manager and co-producer on Star Trek Continues. I'm executive producing right now Yorktown, Time to Heal. And I've been involved with a few other fan film stuff going on. Actually worked New Voyages a little bit. And, that's it for that
I think everyone
sci-fi realm.
New Voyages at some point.
Casey, tell us about your other independent project. I know you've done some horror films as well, have you not?
Neat.
Horror films?
I have. I'm actually working with a friend in Nebraska, and we're doing micro-budget horror flicks. So we've got a couple out right now. I believe you can see them on Amazon Prime. And we're working on some other stuff right now that I can't talk about just yet.
Oh,
I know.
Spoilers.
It's spoilerish. But yeah, so I'm working that as well. And, with Carlos on here, I've always told him, I said, hey, I'll help you out anytime you need something.
He helped me out last week.
And he has. Thank you.
Yeah, and he helped me out last week by sending my puppies a big box of a big huge Amazon box filled with bags of dog biscuits. So
I think that's funny that you mentioned that because I'll just say this real quick. One of the guys that helps us out with the show, and he's been on the show once, Lars. I can't pronounce his last name.
Lars is cool.
Lars is cool, and he does our animated opener. He, out of the goodness of his heart, because he loves dogs, he one day sent me at least, I don't know how much he spent, but one day he asked me, what does your dog like for food? And I got this 2 huge boxes of Chewy.com, dog food. Oh my God, milk bones, all this stuff. And he just decided he wanted to.
But you know what Kasey and Lars are? Dog fathers.
That's right.
Yeah, me too.
Good people.
Yep, there we go.
So, side story, real quick, very quick. Last year at STLV 2018, Kasey and I we meet up every year now, and. Met up with him. First thing he did, high fives, big hugs. He gives me the freaking Section 31 badge from Discovery.
Ooh, the black.
It was so awesome.
Black badge.
Yeah, because here's the thing: they at the convention, as you can imagine, they were sold out the first day. He had come prepared. It was freaking awesome.
Nice.
Right on.
By the way, real quick, do they still do that old trick where they do the double tape to make it seem like you're pulling it off the shirt. It's not actually pinned in. Like they have some technology where you can pull it off the shirt. Or do they have something that actually lets them do that now on the show? You know what I mean? Remember in the old days, like Jonathan Frakes used to tell the story about how they used to have to double back in the little tape on the badge to make it seem like it was always on.
Right, because they had a little strip of Velcro on the tunic. So they'd have to shoot it again without the Velcro strip.
Do you think they actually have the ability to do that now, where they just pull it off, or is that an illusion also? It's a minor.
You're talking about the comm badge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just use high-powered magnets.
Yeah, use the magnets.
Yeah, they're outstanding.
Yeah, that makes sense. They used to do that in the Army too, with the pin rank.
Yeah, even with my nerd first contact uniform, I converted all my comm badges to magnets because they just work perfectly. So,
all right. So I'll introduce everybody else. So we meet Kasey today. I'm George, of course, and Carlos. How you doing today?
Doing great. Ready for action.
Sean.
Oh yeah.
Doing okay. No pants as usual. Got another car accident today. Fun stuff. Thank you.
Oh, Jesus.
Gosh, Sean.
You are the worst driver, man.
Sean, are you trying to sustain the insurance industry by yourself?
I swear to God, it's not me this time.
Company vehicle or personal vehicle?
Personal. The one I just got. That was in the shop from getting rear-ended a week after I bought it.
That's what she said.
Dude. Yeah, well, okay.
Crash O'Halloran, you are a mess, man.
Yeah, man. Crash Bandicoot. And I know. Raul, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm a Baul. I'm oppressing people. It's wonderful.
I agree. And
he's also sticky and tarry.
He is sticky and tarry. We've had this problem.
We've had this argument. It's not tar. It's just swamp muck.
And Son, how are you?
I'm here, listening.
Yes.
Wait a minute. So Raul is Solomon Grundy? Is that what we do?
Solomon Grundy on a.
He's Solomon Grundy if he had an oil spill and he dived into it.
For a moment, I forgot the old line. That's hilarious.
On a Monday.
I haven't thought about that line in years. Solomon Grundy, born on a Sunday.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's definitely a subject that we should talk about on another episode. Maybe tomorrow, actually. But anyway, so we had a great episode of Discovery. Well, that's subjective. We'll find out how everyone really thought. But it's called Season 2, Episode 8, If Memory Serves. We start off with a wonderful, fantastic, I can't even use enough pronouns to describe this stuff.
Last time on Star Trek Discovery.
Exactly. We
The
start
Cage.
Well, they did
it was last time on Star Trek, not even last time on Star Trek.
It was the first Star Trek ever thing filmed, except they used it in a way that was different. And we start off with that teaser using the actual footage from that, and we segue into meeting the Section 31.
This means they've literally used it 3 times in Trek now.
Man,
that's pretty good. They've managed to make use of their origins pretty heavily.
Which is pretty funny when you consider that that's the pilot that was rejected.
That's true.
Yeah, considering how cool it was compared to the.
Hey, better late than never. That's
it was considered too cerebral at the time.
Probably because Vina wore flats instead of pumps, because apparently that's the way to go.
It's because everybody thought Spock was supposed to be an analog to Satan.
Oh, okay.
That's correct. And they couldn't handle a woman being first officer.
Oh, that okay. I remember
Freaked them out.
Either could Pike.
And then we segue into meeting the section. This is what, for me, the first scene, that was cool. But we meet the people that are not Carol's father there. What's her face? Marcus. In this universe, the council, I call them the Council of Section 31 Admirals, who seem to be in charge. And interestingly enough, they are diverse. They have a female Vulcan, a Tellarite, an Andorian, a human in the background, not saying much.
Yeah, the major races of the Federation.
Right.
Races.
We start to get a sense that Leland and Giorgio are competing for control and willing to sell each other out and like doing that game that Giorgio seems to be. So we're starting to get a sense of what she's actually doing here, other than being nice to Burnham. I'm starting to get a real cool feeling about where this is going. So before we go any further, we can talk about any of that opening stuff. The use of the cage footage as a tribute, and not worrying about the fact that they're using the old actors in the footage, and the fact that we're meeting these people and seeing a little bit of a hint of the rivalry that's going on in the command chain on that Section 31 ship. Let me start with our guest. Kasey, what do you think about this opener?
I thought the opening was amazing. Just when they go last time on Star Trek, and like, oh, okay, this is going to be different. And okay, you've got different actors portraying the characters, but I didn't care. I was
They
thrilled.
didn't worry about it. They didn't care.
Yeah, I was thrilled to see that old footage looking wonderful, and then just dovetailing right into that other shot with Anton Mount being Pike. I was like, okay, let's go for this ride this week.
I like the fact that they were confident enough in their audience that they didn't worry about confusing anybody. I mean, that was great. It reminded me of the Doctor Who episode Twice Upon a Time, where they used the footage from the original 10th Planet, the final episode of the first Doctor, and they actually interposed it with bringing him back in a new way. And they didn't, they tied that in. It's similar, it felt like. I like that a lot.
There's nothing more annoying than a show that treats its audience like babies.
Exactly, like dummies. Yep. No, there was no. They treated them with intelligence. That we get it. We're not stupid. Especially people who understand the significance of this.
Some of us are, but no one in this panel.
Right.
All right, I agree with you there. I know where you're saying.
Well, I'll tell you what though. Here's the thing. What just gave me chills? This opening, this teaser, it gave me so much of the chills. But even what was better is that I have my CBS All Access subscription through Amazon Prime for a couple of reasons. One, because I have a much better experience with this app than I do with the CBS All Access app. But the other side of this too is that the Amazon Prime app supports surround sound, where the CBS All Access app does not. So because I have it through Amazon Prime, in the lower right-hand corner, it said skip recap. It was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Skip recap? It actually said that?
It gave you the option to skip the recap.
Oh my God.
It was basically saying it was a recap of The Cage, which was like it was
hashtag
awesome.
As if.
Right. Exactly.
That's
in
funny.
retrospect, exactly. But it's so funny that's what it looked at it as the recap of the first episode, 700 plus episodes prior. So it was really cool. And again, it was the homage with this. I'm not a big fan of fan service in general. I like when they put little things in there here and there, but this was done so perfectly and in context with this season and with this new Pike. I loved it. It's one of the most epic watershed moments in Trek history as far as on screen. This opening teaser.
I am a very serious believer in that thing. Everything has to serve the story, and the fan services usually do not.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was as Spock would say. In this case, it was very logical for them. If they're going to do it, you might as well make it more of a tribute. Son, what did you think?
Okay, so I have the same feelings everybody else does about the opener. It's like, oh, this is neat, this is cool. Getting people who have no clue about the original pilot for Star Trek a little bit of backstory about what this episode is going to even involve in the first place. That's cool. My question, though, is, did anybody notice that the whole Section 31 quote-unquote council people were, like, not, Section 31?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before.
Every Section 31 member
clearly
is usually...
in the 23rd century, Section 31 is a formal part and above-board part of
Federation
of Starfleet.
Oh, I see what you're saying, and I agree with you, Carlos, yes.
And so it makes sense that that type of organization, which people acknowledge exists, would have pretty high-level people who would be, in control. And of course, our guess, our speculation is that something, perhaps what we're seeing, this season in Discovery, is the something that,
drives
becomes the reason for
underground.
Section 31 going underground.
Yeah.
Now,
by
this
the
is
time
going
we
to
encounter it in the 24th century.
this is actually going to segue perfectly into my next thing I wrote down. Pike has a talk with Giorgio, and Pike and Tyler talk about Burnham, and Pike feels Tyler's past relationship is compromising his objectivity when he learns more about their relationship. Burnham, meanwhile, is bringing Spock to tell us for it, and we do get a vague reference that the system is prohibited from travel, but no actual indication of General Order 7. Now, they don't say it. Now, I question this in our private chats. General Order 7, we always want, we made a guess last week about, has it happened yet? We all agreed it hasn't. And that Carlos and I both agreed that, and I think you guys all did too, that we're going to see it develop to where this is where we find out why you can't go there under penalty of death, because otherwise it doesn't make as much sense. So this is an allowed retcon. But here's the thing. They still don't specifically state. They say prohibited, so
Well,
forth.
because it hasn't happened yet, George.
Well, but hear me out. The thing is, though, I was worried that they were watering it down as a retcon and saying it's just prohibited.
I don't see that at all.
I agree
I
with
don't
you
see that at
now.
all.
I'm just saying at the time, the first viewing, that's what I was worried about. And I listened to what you had to say after the episode aired, and we talked about this in our private chats.
Mhm.
But I now, the way I look at it now is, I think you're right. We're going to get more of this arc, and we're going to find out what's going on.
This wasn't just about the computer saying that travel to the Talos system is prohibited as being a complete changing of the continuity. That wasn't the point of that. The point of that was very simply that we know at this time it's established that travel to the Talos system is prohibited. However, there was no mention in General Order 7, so what we have to assume because of that is that General Order 7 does not exist at this point. It comes later on, which I think we all expect something's going to precipitate it this season.
Oh, I know what that's going to be. Leland's going to go on a rage bender and try to take down all the people who wronged him.
We'll see.
Which includes the entire planet of Talos 4, and that's not going to end well. Which will create General Order 7 because General Order 7 stated something about immediate death.
Well, you just actually reminded me of something I never planned to talk about. We do get a little bit of a thing that Giorgio says to Leland, that in her universe they took care of the Telosians because they saw them as a threat quickly. They basically knew them.
right away.
Yeah, so maybe that's an important mention, because it's like saying they see them as being that powerful, like Carlos mentioned last week, about how powerful and dangerous they could be. So Section 31, I think you're right. You know what? My mind is blown. I think Section 31 might be the cause of General Order 7.
Kasey, your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. Kasey.
I don't know yet. I keep thinking on this because I think as this season goes on, I think Giorgio's going to kill Ash.
I hope so.
So I'm gonna miss Clem Fandango, but
no, I want him dead. I'll tell you about that.
On this, I just keep wondering
if he just got
thinking
a
of
haircut.
how they're gonna set up. The Section 31 show is, Giorgio's gonna be the lead in that. She's gonna have to be.
But doesn't that
a protagonist
argue for Tyler being part of it as well?
No. Not necessarily.
Because Leland is her adversary, not Tyler.
I love that.
Leland.
Though.
Yeah.
Plus, that would piss off Michael, like really piss her off.
Oh well, good. To me, that's fine, because anyways, go ahead. I hate Tyler. I want him dead, but I'll get into that a little bit later. There's another section of this show that I want to bring that up, but you're making me remember. So, anyways, Kasey, continue.
Well, no, on that, because I just keep going back to that, and I think of the actors in this, and they go, he hasn't had a whole heck of a lot to do this season so far. So whether they're saving him for the next show or not, I think that's going to help dictate who becomes your big bad for a while.
I see a lot of potential for them to have that inner conflict on the ship. But
here's the problem with Leland in my book is that he keeps stepping on his dick.
Okay.
I mean, Giorgio is 10 steps ahead of him at every turn. She's got it all planned out.
Yeah, she's got
it
it
out of the starting blocks.
I think that personally, okay, I'll just say it now and get it out of the way. I'm not really jumping ahead too much. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, and I'll mention another scene later when we get to
it, George.
Get to it,
All right,
George.
I just hate Tyler. I feel I had sympathy for his arc and his character. At this point, where at least where we are right now, unless they redeem him, because I mean, let's face it, there's so many shows that like a character can redeem themselves. At this point where he's at, I actually will be happy if he dies. I actually don't say that about many enemies or bad guys on a show, but I actually hate Tyler about the same level as I did Joffrey Baratheon on Game of Thrones.
Wow.
I'm gonna go there.
Whoa.
Reese or whatever his name, Bolton. I hate.
See, I don't know who these people are, so it
Right.
has no
I'm just
effect
gonna
on
tell you.
me
Well,
when
you
say
heard the
that.
reaction though from the other people. I'm gonna put him
did.
up there. I hate this character. He sort of redeemed himself, and then he became a dick again. I don't like him. I want him gone.
So then you have a problem with the writing.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
it's
the writing
writing.
dictates the character regardless, and the character sucks. I want him gone. I want him dead.
No, wait a minute. Are you do you hate the? Let's be honest here. For all that we've seen of Tyler this season, he's been pretty much honest in all of his dealings.
He still needs
like,
to go.
across the board.
He's got
when
to
he-
go, as the mobsters
when-
would say.
I don't
when he was
understand
having-
your antipathy, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, full of love for you, George. But you big fat meanie.
I am. I'm
You
sorry.
take
Like,
that
seriously,
back.
like
You
what's
take
the
that back,
issue?
sir.
I don't.
You
I
meanie.
just is something. I hate him. I just want him.
Well,
to...
it's hair.
Okay,
I mean, clearly.
I don't.
No,
hair-
I
he's got
don't
bad
mind
hair.
his hair is fine. It looks pretty good.
No, his hair
actually.
drives me up. Oh,
It does actually.
Oh,
drive-
terrible.
He looks
I
like
was
he needs
being
a bath.
kind. I
He
actually
really
was gonna.
does.
kind.
He
You
needs
just
a hair-
said you want him to die.
Both.
Both. He needs
I
to
just
die.
want to get a
His
hair.
hair has to
Not-
die. He has
needs
to
not the
die. He
90s.
just has to die.
Tyler,
Yeah, but
Before
see,
he dies,
that's the
he
thing.
needs a bath.
George was trying to make a compliment sandwich. I want him to die. His hair is nice. I want him to die.
Yep, pretty much. He could die and still have a nice haircut. I don't know.
But
I-
no,
I
like
don't know,
Tyler has
not.
been honest this entire.
That
pretty
doesn't
much,
mean he doesn't have to die, though.
he's been honest this entire season. When he was on the shuttle with Pike, he said, "Hey, I don't think this is you acting in the best interest of the ship. I think this is you having something to prove." And guess what? Come the end of the episode, what does Pike say? You were right. I was trying to prove something.
And you know what? In the same context of all this, with his discussions on this episode, Pike, we all thought they had the. Remember when I said they had the bro, whatever I said last week? The bro man, it's not bromance, bro something. The bro show, the bro ship, whatever. Bro ship. But even Pike is like, all right, you know what? I thought we had something, we were cool now, and now I guess we're not again. And
I think this is where I understand where you're coming from now, okay? Because something's been off about me with Tyler too. I don't want to see him, drawn and quartered or thrown into the pit of despair. But I do get what you're saying. I don't find him sympathetic this season, is what it comes down to. And I think you just hit the nail
I
on the
agree
head
with that.
as to the problem with him is that he keeps butting heads with Pike, and you ain't butting heads with Pike. We love Pike, okay?
That's
I
right.
think that's the
You
problem
get away
right
from
now.
our man.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. Okay. In this episode, specifically because of in this episode, do you now feel the same way about Saru?
no,
Yep.
in fact, I'll
Then
get to that
fuck
later.
off. Then
But
fuck
I'm
off with that logic.
No,
Then absolutely fuck off with that logic.
No, I will fuck on with that logic. You want to go there? I'll throw down the gloves.
I think the
Wait,
difference
are we going to
between-
be liking that mess room scene? We're going to go there later.
That's next, right? I think the difference between Saru and Tyler is we're seeing a lot more Saru, and Pike's.
Saru
approach
didn't
with-
snap somebody's neck who's a crew member. I mean,
Well,
Not yet.
that's
Not yet, but with
that's
the
right.
smoke.
But here's the thing: Pike's approach with Saru is a lot less confrontational than what's going on with him and Tyler. That's I think
Yeah,
the
true.
difference here. And you know what? This may be. I look at this as not bad writing. This is entirely. This is a testament to the writing that.
oh, I don't
these
think it's bad
characters-
writing at all. I just
Hold
hate
on,
Tyler.
hold on.
All right, go
hold
ahead.
on. that these characters are evoking such an emotional response from us. So I think that's a testament to the writing. Somebody the other day talked about that oh God, I hope I hated Kai Wynn. I hate it. You were supposed to hate Kai Wynn. That's a testament to the
You
writing
know
and to
what?
Louise
That's a
Fletcher's
damn
performance.
good point, because that's why we hated. That's why we hate half the characters on the Game of Thrones when they're bad, because the writing.
Right, exactly.
I gotta give you. I gotta give you. You're right.
Yes.
You're right. I mean, when you're right, man. I thought about this. Oh, anyways, before I will bookmark this, put a pin on it, when the time's right to talk about that scene in the mess hall, which was coming up. But Burnham does land the shuttle, and Vina, who is Pike's illusionary love interest from the cage, makes her first appearance since the cage, wearing pumps, and that's fine. Carlos did make a good point. It could have been illusionary footwear, but I did make a kind of a big deal about that. But it just felt weird. But I kind of said last week, I wonder if she's going to show up. I'm not going to give myself credit and say I called it, not like that. But I did wonder. I wondered, because she is an important reason why he's willing to go back there at the end of his entire arc, as we all know what ends up happening. So I felt like the way they're building this up, especially the acting, Anson Mount, when he sees her reflection upon the third in that desk, that first reaction where he kind of reeling back, and he's
Anson Mount is a great actor.
That right there was
He
like,
really is.
wow. That moment just made me go, what? That is amazing. And at first I wasn't sure if I was buying. If you're going to sell Vina to this Pike, at first I was like, but you know what? I put in a third viewing. I am excited because the whole point is.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead. Sorry, George. You're
no. All I was going to say was that the arc of Vina and the Telosians are hugely important to where they're going. It started with a fortune cookie, in episode 1 of season 2. It started with that. I thought at first it was just Easter eggs. It is no longer Easter eggs. They're going there. They're turning this season into. We're getting more detail as to why when Spock says, "Do you want to go to Talos 4?" accepts that he wants to reunite with the woman he loves, and they're trying to sell us on the chemistry.
Discovery has done more for interpersonal romantic relationships in 2 seasons than the entire franchise did in 50 years before it.
They've handled it wonderful. They've handled it wonderfully.
Between the Stamets-Culber relationship and this romance and it's so
and
simple.
what we've just seen of Burnham and Spock.
Yep.
Yeah, even just
that was
interpersonal
intense,
family.
dude.
Right, exactly.
We're gonna get to that.
Let's not forget last episode and the dynamic between Sarek and Amanda.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
They've shown that it's not a curse to have a stable relationship. It's just difficult, which I think is the natural takeaway for anybody that's been in a relationship over 3 weeks.
Well, then we're out of my wheelhouse.
Whoa,
Carlos, we weren't gonna go there, but sure.
You're right, Carlos. You're good. So Pike's illusion. Yeah, I mean, Vina is an important. I mean, I'm not taking credit for this. I didn't guess it, but I mean, I feel like I was glad they went there because I feel like where you're going with this story arc, if you need Pike to eventually, at the end of all this, be in his wheelchair, not the wheelhouse, but the wheelchair, and go,
Grim.
And you guys brought this stuff up.
Too soon. Hashtag too
come
soon.
on.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Before we go any further, I wanna rewind just a little bit. George, when you said it's okay, Carlos, you're right. Were you insinuating that he would only have a permanent relationship once we have holodecks?
No, I'm suggesting that Raul, that Carlos is a Telosian.
I am not Carlos, and Carlos is not me.
You're a Bowel. He's a Telosian.
Well, okay. Well, I want to point something out that I did not have any clue where this was going to go at the end of last episode. Other than that, they'd be going to Talos 4, and we would see the Telosians. I had no clue up until I saw on my screen where it said previously on Star Trek, and that's when I knew that this is all going to be interwoven. And I knew we would,
because they focused on her on Venus scenes with him, on those flashbacks.
Well, yeah, but and that wasn't really the thing. It was that they summed up the entire cage in a course of about 45 seconds, which told me that this is just more than her stopping off on Telos.
Right.
Telos 4 and saying hi to the keepers. That
you know what I really wish would have been in that rewind.
What?
Number 1 with the big, huge, giant fucking gun trying to blast the door.
They had an opportunity to.
Everybody wanted it.
You know what, son? You just made me think about this, and I want to ask Kasey his opinion. Are we going to see Rebecca back again before the season? So I think we will.
Probably
as number 1 because I think that the callback to this should have included her somehow. But I mean, maybe they'll
episode, dude. This was a jam-packed episode.
I know. She was there. She went down there. She was actually in competition with Pike Tavina as a romantic triangle.
But she wasn't germane to this story.
She kind of was in a way.
No, she wasn't.
No, she wasn't,
nothing
George.
to do with this story.
You just want to see her again. You're obsessed.
You're obsessed because you thought she was.
This is your white whale, George.
What do you think, Kasey?
I think we'll see her again later on in the season. It would be interesting to just sign that actress for literally a real cameo so far. I think we're going to see her again, most definitely, later on.
Yeah, I think this is just my opinion of this, but I think the reason why you don't want to... First of all, she wasn't integral to this story, number 1. But the other side of this, too, is I could not get over that line by Pike in the cage I'm just not used to having a woman on the bridge. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry,
you're different.
Yeah, that's the 1960s right there, man.
That's actual sexism.
Yeah, right. Exactly. They didn't. That would have just. That's all I would have been able to think of if she was in this episode.
I agree. I feel like, to me, like, the only reason I mention that is because I know it's a stupid little thing, but in the episode, but like they're trying to sell us in this episode, and I like it, that we're trying to foreshadow the fact, why would Pike want to go back and be with Vina? Because they're trying to sell that there was a relation, feelings going on, and in the original
well, we got that
cage,
even from the cage. I mean, it's
well, that's what I mean. But number 1 was crucial to that because she had feelings too, and the Telosians were pulling that out.
You were obsessed with number 1, dude.
Yeah, I never.
George,
I'm going by the narrative of the cage.
Order.
No,
but
you aren't, because the
narrative
of the cage is not germane.
I might be.
Storyline.
Okay.
Are you talking about Jermaine Jackson? I don't know what you're talking about, man.
But here's the thing: is that you got to go back and watch the cage in the menagerie, okay? Because here's what happens, okay? They number 1, and whatever her face, the younger girl that went down there, they were sent down there as
the yeoman, the new one. I don't remember her name either.
They were sent down there as alternatives because apparently they thought Pike was cute at one time. Okay.
All right, yeah, that's true.
More. There was no deep
You're right. They didn't actually say like in love. They said like sexual attraction or whatever.
You could say
read the internet. There are dudes with man crushes on Pike, so we shouldn't be surprised the 2 of his female.
There are on SNL especially.
Exactly. That's the point of this. But the Telosians didn't know any better. They figured, hey, we'll just throw two women in here and have them hump like rabbits and see what happens. That was their plan, and that blew up in their faces miserably. Pike wanted nothing to do with it, so she was not integral to that episode whatsoever. Vina, however, was, and not only that, what this whole episode served to do, this actually filled in the. I mean, it's clear it did, but it really gave us a sense of love and loss for Pike in the menagerie and in the cage that we've never had before. This put all the pieces together. It was amazing.
I loved it. The scenes with Anson Mount and the actress Melissa George, who played Vina, were Perfect. They did a good. They have a good chemistry thing there. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to play out. Also, okay. So moving a little bit beyond that, Colbert, meanwhile, is starting to have his PTSD anger from seeing Tyler whenever he passes him on the Discovery hallways, corridors, or whatever you want to call it, and that's. So we're leading into what's going to happen later, which is one of my favorite scenes in the entire series, and we'll get into that when the time comes. But Burnham, meanwhile, meets the Telosians, and we learn Spock is suffering from a mind meld with the Red Angel. He's seeing time as fluid rather than linear. It's messing him up. The Telosians are offering to help, but in repayment, they want Burnham to share the memory of what caused the schism. Now, I
called it last week.
I have it last
week.
Yeah.
Before we go, hold on, guys.
So did
Before
I.
we go any further, I mentioned this before some of you guys entered the chat before we started the show. I just want to throw out a theory, okay? Not a theory, like a concern.
If it has to do with number one, we're shooting you.
No. I'm wondering, like, if the implication.
If this is another one of those, Luke will be in the Mandalorians. We're going to do more than shoot you. We're going to shoot you, bring you back to life, and then stab you to death.
No, my theory. It's not a theory. It's a concern. Are we thinking that because we already know there's some time tampering? Was Burnham meant to die in that scene? And in TOS, when we originally saw it, she was always dead. From that moment, trying to help out the situation about getting away to save Spock from being bullied yet again since the JJ thing, for having a human sister, and that she actually died in the original timeline, because the implication is when the Red Angel saved her, that was a change in the timeline.
Yeah, except for no.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I do, but this is what I was thinking. This is a causality loop issue. This is not a changing of the timeline per se, because here's the thing: if she had originally died, her future self could not have saved her. So will
go into theories later, but I see where you're going with this.
This is like yesteryear, okay, where the animated series episode where Spock actually goes back to save himself. Okay, and that's if I'm sorry, if that is Burnham, okay, we haven't obviously clearly have not established
there's no confirmation yet.
No, listen, exactly. But I see where you're going with this, and I agree.
But this is more causality loop. The Enterprise goes back to 2063 to stop the Borg at Earth. The Voyager goes to 1995 in was it Future Tense? Is that what it's called? Parts 1 and 2?
I think you're right, but I don't know.
Yeah, when they go to 1999,
it's a causality loop thing where it's not a matter of changing the timeline like Spock going back in the Kelvin movies with chasing Nero that created an entirely separate, completely different timeline. It's completely different if it is the case. So that's what I have to say.
Well, here's another one of those things that if it is Burnham, like Carlos thinks it is, going back and involving herself in her own life, this is not just a causality loop; it's a bootstrap paradox.
Well, let me ask you this, Carlos.
Temporal mechanics.
I know. Shit, right?
Minute,
it's a seventh dimensional problem.
Son, explain for our listeners that may not know what that is. Explain the bootstrap paradox, please.
Okay, so say you like Beethoven as you like all the works of Beethoven. So you go back in time to meet Beethoven, and then you find out Beethoven doesn't exist. So you have all this material that Beethoven has written, and you can slowly become Beethoven by pushing it out there. Well, then who originally created the music? That's a bootstrap paradox.
Got it. Yep. And I figured you were going to explain it better than I would. So I let you.
My thing is that I want to ask Carlos this because my thing is that, okay, first of all, young Spock, the actor, and in the show as he's portrayed, we learn. I at the same time that it was kind of how convenient you're going to use this plot device so that we have a reason to have to explore why Burnham and Spock had a schism. It was great, but because of the fact that we learned that she would have died had not the Red Angel saved her in a time paradox thing. What is the true timeline? So it makes me wonder: is this like I mentioned this to Sean and everybody earlier? when Enterprise came out, the first episode, Broken Bow, fans went crazy because they were not meant to have meant, because of a throwaway, like, as Sean pointed out, it was a throwaway line. But the Klingons were not supposedly meant to meet the Federation for another 100 years, but the Temporal Cold War made it earlier. So my question is, it doesn't mean there's a new timeline. It could be, my theory is like Doctor Who, if it has to be a fixed point that's changed to make it really split off into an alternate universe, like with the JJ thing. So my question is, are these tweaks that are happening, are they trying to say, Alex Kurtzman said in the Ready Room in one of the episodes, we're going to find out why it has to do with Spock's relationship with Burnham and why he never mentioned her. He actually specifically said that. So my question is are we leading into the question, because this timeline's been changed, is that the answer? Is it because Burnham originally died and somebody time traveled and changed it?
Yeah, but can I say that
Go ahead.
At this point that the Red Angel being Burnham, that is actually a strike against her, because she cannot change her own future in the future she can't travel to unless the suit or the technology that she's using.
Spock did it.
Well, it was look what cost him.
I think we need more information to confirm the theory, but I think there's enough evidence that it is either her or it could be even Giorgio.
Well, okay.
I think it's Giorgio.
I think it's more likely now that it's Giorgio.
Well, let me going on your theory. I want to address the throwaway line about the Klingons, because a lot of people may not know this. Okay, this throwaway line we're talking about, this happened in the 4th season episode of TNG, First Contact, and where Picard says to the scientist who they initiate contact with, who's on the verge of getting warp drive, that we do this now in advance in preparation. We meet with the scientists and the thinkers on the planet first to avoid disastrous first contacts. And then he explains that they had one with the Klingons. But I think I can't remember if he actually says it, but he may have said 100 years ago. Okay, the problem is that was a throwaway line, and the Canonistas, back when Enterprise came out, they hung on that line as if it was carved into tablets by Moses himself. Okay, and and here's the thing, I have to point this out, and this is what I've been trying to explain to people who are so hung up on canon. Okay, I have 2 5-inch thick binders that I bought from Rick Sternbach, the senior illustrator on the entire Rick Berman era and Brandenburg era of Star Trek. They are the collected technical manuals collected technical memos for Star Trek The Next Generation and Star Trek Voyager. And basically what they consist of is a lot of art and a lot of designs and things like that. But more importantly, what they are comprised of mostly are the memos back and forth between the art department and the writers of the show, where they're discussing about what we're going to put in this episode. And basically the point the writers were going to these guys for is because him and guys like Mike Okuda, these guys know the canon and the technology at the back of their hand. So basically it was like, okay, we're writing this. And Rick Sternbach would come back with a memo that it would say, I swear to God, and all these memos were like this. They said either one of 3 things. You'd be like, okay, you can't do X in this episode because we already did Y in this episode. So, and then the writers would say, okay, we won't do that then. Or scenario number 2, you can't do X in this episode because we already did Y in this episode. However, if you really need to, it's not that big of a deal. Go ahead and do it anyway if it moves the plot along. It's good for the storyline. Or the third option was, you can't do X in this episode. In fact, you really shouldn't fucking do X in this episode because we did Y in this episode and you're going to fuck everything up. And they just went ahead and did it anyway. So really what it comes down to at the end of the day is that canon is only, and continuity is only as important as the current writers of a show or series deem it to be. If it's going to interfere with the storytelling, then even the guys like Rick Sternbach and Michael Okuda, they'd gladly take a step back to enjoy the good storytelling. That line by Picard is a prime example of this. I'm just going to go as Picard misspoke. He meant to say 200 years ago, not 100.
I just remember back when Broken Bow came out. I'm not going to get. I don't want to fixate too much on this topic, but the only reason I mention it is because I just want to use that as an example. Okay,
this is a really big tangent, you guys.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of like saying wank at this point.
Yeah, at this point,
we get it.
Yeah, I know. So, anyways, the point is, I think that this scene, whether or not the original timeline that we're going to find out is Burnham was meant to whatever. I don't even know if that's even going to be brought up. Part of me says no, because they're trying to say the whole point that what Burnham does for her brother. Let's go to the episode itself rather than speculate, because I sort of threw myself outside the box there when I mentioned that whole topic. And then the fact that the point is the character and the writers, what they did was she wanted to protect her little brother, who had finally come to accept her human adopted sister, and then he got bullied, and she didn't want that for him. And this ties into season 1.
That's not why she did it.
I understand
she did it
that.
because her family, because she posed a threat to her family because she was a human.
Because of the purists from the first season, right? They were tying into their.
So that's not directly about Spock being bullied. That's about her being a point of political danger for.
Right. It ties into
family.
the actual current canon that Discovery has introduced from last season with the Vulcan or the the purists that want like logic only, the logic terrorists, so to speak. That was where I was going with that. But it's the same idea. But the point is that she loves her brother. She doesn't want to be a problem, and she's trying to spare him because she actually ended up falling in love with her brother. Like, not in that way. Just saying. She didn't want to cause a problem, so she runs away, and so the idea is that Spock is just she had to hurt him, like, mentally. She had to say, "I don't love you, whatever. I never did, whatever. You need to stay." So we're getting to these areas that are more about family and what families do to protect one another from a brother and a sister, more than just saying it's Star Trek related. I like that. Any thoughts, anybody?
Kasey, what did you think about the whole scene, the flashbacks between the relationship with Michael and Spock?
Oh, I found it very familiar for family. Because I've so far for this whole season, I thought it's been very oriented around family in all the characters, and I could see the older sibling doing exactly what she did to save the younger sibling, even though it kills her at the time. It's like, okay, I got to do something to, get this person who idolizes me away from me because I am a danger. I thought it worked for the show, and but I keep going back on this and go, okay, we have this story here, and what is the final resolution going to be that comes back into canon of how they're going to explain why she wasn't mentioned? Or is this another thing where, like, Cybok doesn't get mentioned either?
My God, what if
Journey
they go
to Babel, Kirk didn't even know that Sarek was his father.
Yeah. Carlos and I talked about this once. It's not necessary to... I understand where CBS is going with this. They're trying to do what Enterprise did with the Flathead Klingons. They're trying to offer an exposition when it's not... You don't need to. Remember we talked about this, Carlos?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
that's
like
true.
You don't need this exposition, but they're trying to go out of their way to do it. And I don't.
Yeah,
think...
but now that you've opened that particular Pandora's box, I mean, there's kind of no way to close it without giving us some closure, as it were.
Well, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because this whole season up till now has been amazing. So I'm going to give them that benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I mean,
they earned
as long as they're going down that road, if they go down that road in a good way, then I'm all for it.
They earned it, in my opinion.
Hey, do we know how long Sonequa Martin Green is actually signed on for the series. I'm curious because like I said, what if we're all being duped and they just Ned Stark her at the end of the season?
I mean, but even if we looked that up right now and we found out,
well, we probably don't know that.
That doesn't mean she's not going to sign back on. I mean, she seems to be very passionate about her role on the show.
No, I'm not really. That's not really my point. My point is, what if we're just being duped and they are planning on killing off the character? That's really all I'm getting at.
No, I don't see that.
Well, I mean, the only problem with that is, and I've thought about that too, because obviously, you know, if she goes off to the future, that's why she's not around. And her destiny is to come back as the Red Angel and set everything right.
Right.
You know, so that makes sense from a story perspective. I just think you're messing with the entire premise of your show in a very fundamental way to get rid of the person who's like the point of the show.
It would be an unnecessary extravagance.
Well, I wouldn't call it an extravagance. It just changes the entire premise of the show. You're basically starting a new show if you go another season without her, and that means to figure out who the protagonist is.
Right.
Do you know who that would be? I don't. It's not going to be Pike.
You know, that's another interesting point, but I'm not going to get there yet. I want
Daenerys Targaryen. Oh.
It could be Daenerys. It could be that we need dragons in space. That could be our thing.
Well, I mean, come on, let's be honest. If they do wind up killing off Burnham or something or whatever the hell, there's a whole series with Saru turning into Dick Cheney.
And I'm about to go there. Actually, it's funny you mention that, son.
Please do, because I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
I want to talk about my favorite part of this entire episode, which I was ironic because I went into this episode going, I can't wait to see how they handle the Telosians. But what they ended up doing that made me even happier, Colbert versus Tyler. Round 1, fight.
Oh, wait a minute. I would like to say this. I want you to explain this, but you know that screenshot that still they kept showing of Saru holding back everybody? Yeah. I mean, was I the only one who saw that and said, fuck me, they're going to have a dance-off?
No.
I mean, yes. It was just you.
Yeah, it was just
okay. Well,
yeah, okay, completely just you.
All right, well then, fine. I was hoping for a dance-off.
I'll be honest.
I'm always down for a good dance-off. Don't get me wrong.
I was a little disappointed.
I'm a little weirded out by your fact you even compared that, but
that's what the still looked like. Like, hold on now.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, anyways, so my favorite scene, this was awesome. To a point. There's a little bit I'm going to complain about. So Colbert has finally, he's resurrected. He's like, I'm back to life, and he's getting used to his new life, and he's trying to work things out with his husband, and
Whoa! Wait a minute. That's a loaded explanation. There's no I'm back to life. The we comes from STEM.
Well,
yeah,
Culber's like this mopey PS.
This is exactly. Hold on, son. This is exactly what my notes say. Hang on, it's funny you said that. My notes actually say to myself, I said PTSD anger towards Tyler. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying.
I always thought that the problem with Cobus is that he feels like he's not in his own body. Wouldn't going in a transporter?
Technically correct.
Wait.
True,
let me finish. Wouldn't going in a transporter almost daily do the same thing?
Yes, it would. That's a whole different discussion. I don't agree transporters will ever happen.
As I watched the episode and I saw his negative reaction,
but
I think that he should have been used to this already.
Here's where it's different. Okay, when you're put back together by a transporter, you're put back together in exactly the same way.
Pattern,
in other words, scars, any thing that's happened to you has still happened to you. This is different. This is literally a new body.
It's a rebuild, right?
It's not even a rebuild. It is built from scratch using the DNA as a blueprint.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there.
The same the same instruction.
Let's not get too over focused on that portion though.
I'm not over focused.
No, not you, Raul. I'm just saying. I'm not you. I'm talking about everybody else because I want to just stay on track with what you mentioned, because the fact is that basically Colbert, when we get to this scene, okay, he finally just he challenges long-haired Tyler with the bad hair, and he just he's like, yo, you with your black badge, you think you're so cool. That's the way I interpret it. Like, yeah, you killed me, mother effer.
It's not a fight between the Jets and the Sharks.
Dude, I love this scene. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire show. Because if I was killed by somebody who snapped my neck out of the blue when I was trying to help them, I would probably do a lot worse than this guy. And the fact I loved, and bringing up Saru, what Son mentioned, I'm going to kind of tie into that. I'm going to give you my opinion, then I'll let you guys go. Because this scene's very strong. It's like, he goes up, he's like, he kind of, says, let's go. And Saru, very wisely, in my opinion, says, screw, there's no, I love that line where he's like, there's no etiquette or rule book for a person who was once a Klingon and came back as a human, and he betrayed everybody, and the other guy was resurrected from death. So Pike's just like, oh, so we're making this up as we go along. He's like, pretty much. That's paraphrasing. But I love that whole exchange between Saru and Pike interacting together, as a side note, are the best pairing as a first officer and an XO since Spock and Kirk, in my opinion.
Okay, I got to point something out here.
Go ahead.
Okay, number one. I think you kind of missed the point of that whole scene, okay? Not the fight scene itself, okay? But that was very primal, what Saru did. And I was kind of, my jaw was dropped open that he allowed that to happen. Because he's the first officer of that ship. He should not have let that happen.
Pike called him out on that, though, but he...
I'm gonna get
to that, go ahead,
okay? Okay, there's nothing at all that... This isn't fucking Fight Club. You don't throw down with somebody in the middle of the mess hall. I don't care in Starfleet. That just doesn't happen. And yeah, Pike did call him out on this. But here's the thing: like I said, Pike is cutting him slack, and we noticed this in the last couple of episodes, based on his the post threat dropping of the threat ganglia, whatever that process is called. I completely forgot what it's called. Anyway, he's cutting him a lot of slack, and that's what that whole scene was about.
By the way,
This was not about Pike saying, well, I guess we don't have any rules for that. Pike was saying, okay, I'm going to let you have this one. Don't ever let it fucking happen again.
Right.
That's basically what he was saying to him. And I just don't want to minimize that, because that's, it's that what went on there, as exciting as it was to watch, Saru should never have allowed it to happen.
I don't agree with you, but the reason why is because, I have a different perspective on it. I understand why you're saying that.
George, if you were in you were in the military, okay? Can you ever see that happening?
Yes, I can. I've seen it happen.
I
have been in that situation
where a senior officer let it happen in front of the entire crew.
Yes,
and he wasn't disciplined.
I'm just letting you guys know this is not me making this shit up. I've been in that situation.
This is why I said Saru's trying to get a Dick Cheney.
They do this, by the way. If everybody agrees, they throw aside. And they go, this is unofficial, and everybody just goes, okay, go. Because, yes, sometimes it is.
I can see this happening.
Off the record, yes, they do. This is absolutely realistic.
Right, except this was on the record. That's the difference.
Right, that's the thing.
I get it, but I'm just letting you guys know that sometimes that stuff happens.
Sure.
I think guys, we're dealing with a situation that is almost impossible to comprehend. A man that once was a Klingon.
Right, exactly.
Killed a man who came back from the dead.
Exactly.
There's a lot of going on there, and I don't think let's just say that the Saru is changed mentally, right? I think that Saru is still the person he is, and says this has to be dealt with in a certain way, but Pike was absolutely correct in saying you can never allow this to happen again.
But that's why I liked it. Raul, you were out completely on point. And guys, I'm not trying to diss what you said, because I'm just letting you know from my personal experience, I witnessed it. I wasn't the recipient of somebody. However...
George, we're not taking you to task for it being unrealistic. What we're taking what we're drawing attention to is the fact that it was a bad call. It was a bad call.
And guys, that's
officer.
what I love about that is it's subjective. And Pike called him out. He said, "Look, I'm wondering."
Yeah, we know that.
Is
We know he called him out. We know.
Said that. You know,
we heard it.
I would like
we're
to.
just registering our opinion, which is it was a bad call.
Completely
I'm going to break this. I'm going to break this discussion right now because I want to rewind a little bit because I would like to.
I love it when you do that, son.
Yeah, I want to. I read you. Okay, now that we're back a scene or two, can we just acknowledge that Colbert has admitted that Colbert is actually dead?
I don't know about it.
So Colbert actually did die.
Well,
we
we know that.
Even if somebody was dead, even if somebody died on the operating table and came back after a few heartbeat pumps or whatever the machines, the little things there.
No. I don't mean that he was clinically considered dead. I mean that entire Colbert is now dead. That he does not exist anymore.
I don't think that's what
I'm going to agree with Sean on that
one. I think we've gone in this territory before about the idea of a consciousness, a soul, whatever the case may be, and that's
you only go so far with that.
Well, apparently it goes far enough that if you meet some mushrooms, you can get a new body.
Yeah. Look,
let me tell you something. The Mushroom Network has given so many ideas and so many storylines that I never would have thought possible. It's a great idea. Great inclusion.
I'm not sure if I agree with that.
You run the risk of it becoming a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And actually, they've been really good, apart from the whole resurrection, they've been really good about not using the sport drive this season.
Yeah. They have. In fact, this episode, they
tried and it didn't work.
And so, moving on just a tiny, tiny bit. So,
no, I would like to actually discuss the whole Saru and Tyler fight thing now. I just want
not
to
Saru and Tyler. You're talking about Colbert.
No.
Saru's position in the fight.
Saru, Colbert, Tyler thing. Because that whole scene involved all three of them.
All right. I just thought I was just making sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So, yes, the whole Colbert Tyler thing is a primal emotional reaction to trauma between the both of them. And during that entire fight, Tyler looked like he was holding back against Colbert, letting Colbert get it out. And even to the point even to the point that when Colbert is just wailing on him, Tyler's whole position is to just get him in some kind of hold to keep him from causing any more damage.
I have to agree with you, son, because I'll tell you why. Not just because of the fact that what Colbert's job description was to be a healer, not a hurter. So therefore, any training he had in fighting, realistically, would have been minimal. But, unless he did it on his own. But he was also just taking out his anger. But the way he choreographically, just carefully planned his moves and how they choreographed that fight scene.
Well, it was Krav Maga was the style that they were both using.
Whatever it was, it doesn't. I understand, Raul, that you have a martial arts background.
You know what? This whole thing could have just been solved with the Michael Scott School of Diplomacy. Hug it out, bitch.
Pretty much.
Well, and see, here's
they
the thing.
did. They did hug it out.
Exactly. They could have started there, though.
Really, the end of that fight is actually the best part of that.
It is actually.
Yeah.
I agree.
The fight itself, as much as the fight itself seems like it means something, it means absolutely nothing in this space.
Yeah,
in this particular space of this episode, this fight means nothing because what they were doing was showing the change in Saru.
Both.
Well, no. More than anything, that scene was about the change in Saru.
I don't agree with you there. I think it was a lot. I think it was a lot about
all those things. I think it was about all of those.
I think
Yes.
it was a package deal. I think
Yeah,
Casey,
they cleverly packaged a lot
Package deal,
of
yep.
information.
I will
Casey,
agree
what
with
did
you.
Yeah,
you think-
exactly.
Hold on. Casey, what did you think about the whole fight scene?
Yeah, well, you've got two characters who are both very isolated and damaged, and there was going to have to be a confrontation between them. And then it's Saru allowing it to happen is, I think, ancillary to the whole scene itself, because I think it's going to go now where when earlier, he's being asked, why are you so angry at me? And goes, oh, well, yeah, that's a great question. So Colbert's just filled with anger and angst of being basically a whole new creation of himself, where he says he doesn't feel like he is him anymore.
Yeah, this is a straight up identity crisis of what it comes down to.
And if you looked at that fight, that was a very sibling-esque fight where you're not really wailing on somebody, but you do the wrestling moves, you kind of throw each other, on the ground or on the wall and stuff, but you're not punching. And I was like, okay.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there.
Yeah, I'm going to.
I think Colbert was for real.
He was really trying to hurt him.
Tyler was not.
Right.
Tyler was just trying
Colbert
to.
was like the little brother in that situation.
I mean,
exactly.
Colbert took a chair.
Yeah.
Colbert took a chair and he was wailing on him. He really wanted to. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, but I've thrown golf balls at my brother from 10 feet
But
away
you didn't pick up
when
a
we grew up.
chair.
Yeah, but not
How
a
do
chair.
you know?
Yeah, I've seen it happen. Yeah, I've seen. Yeah.
I mean, it was a chair. If it was just if he picked up a fucking lunch
relatable.
tray and he said, "Hey, I'm going to hit you with this," that'd be different. But he picked up a chair and he was like, "You killed me," kind of thing, and he's like wailing on him, and Ty was just like, "I'm just saying."
Nah, still don't buy that.
The reason I say this fight scene was a throwaway, that it wasn't as important as we think it is.
I agree.
It's because of the scene before with Colbert and the scene after with Colbert, when he's with Stamets both times. Because before, he is angry, and he says, "I don't know why I'm angry at you," and he storms off to go and continue that anger. And after that scene, when Colbert is back with Stamets, and Stamets says, "Here, why don't we go and get that fixed?" He says, "I don't want to fix it because it makes me feel something." And it lets us know that the entire reason that fight happened in the first place was that so Colbert could feel anger.
And
I think that's well put.
Yeah,
Very well put.
I
agree.
totally agree.
I hadn't even thought about that, because honestly, here's the thing about it: the scene before and the scene after. You're expecting that the scene before the fight scene itself, as part of the audience, you're expecting that this is supposed to help him resolve his issues so he can get his life back to normal. But that's not what it was about.
This is like when a damaged person goes bungee jumping primal, just to have some emotional connection to anything.
Sorry about that. I was chewing a Jolly Rancher.
And that's fine. But see, this is where I go. This scene was about showcasing Saru more than anything.
Very good analysis.
I still disagree with you about that. But
and that's fine. That's fine. But the reason I said this is about showcasing Saru is because we've seen Saru slowly turn into this creature that he's not been before, and it's only going to get worse.
I don't think it is. I actually disagree with you there, son. I think that the way he talked about it with Pike it showed you everything you need to know. That he's basically said, "I got it under control," and I actually don't think that he's lying about that.
I don't know if I would take that.
I wouldn't take that either. I think we're.
I think if anything's wrong, it's we don't know for sure now after last week's discussion what's going on with Arium.
Sun is onto something that Saru is changing into something unseen before in the universe in thousands of years.
If that's true, and I'm not saying you guys are wrong. I'm saying if that's true, their writing and the way that they're using this is going to, and also the swish and bait possibly about Arium is going to make me go, huh? Which one do we really need to be worried about, Arium or Saru, or maybe both? I think they are actually handing us.
It's not an either or.
Is it a possible red burst herring? Haha, get it?
Well,
yeah, no, I think the Saru thing is going to be a much slower boil.
Agreed.
The Arium thing, it happens next episode. We know.
Is it next episode? Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. Oh, you're right. The Section 31
the trailer.
Episode. Yeah. So, my God. So this is.
Can we talk about? Can we talk about the issue of the haters specifically for Discovery? Putting out their videos constantly.
Can we hold that until just one more scene, and then I'll say yes,
right.
because I know where you're going with this, and I want to talk about that.
Well, let's go on to the next scene.
Yeah, let's go on to the next scene. So
the next scene was back in the mess hall with the robots cleaning up.
No, that's not what I'm going to talk about. Okay.
Yeah, but how cool was that? Seeing how stuff actually
was
gets
pretty
cleaned.
cool.
And I also felt like those were designed by the new engineer.
That was pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. Where is Tig? I miss her.
I miss her.
I mean,
Bring back Tig.
Hopefully she'll come back. And as far as the Spock resolution with Burnham, I sensed it coming. It wasn't like a huge, like you could see it coming. Section 31, they have the whole. Well,
we're moving off that a little too fast because first of all, I don't think there's been a resolution. There's only been an airing of the issue.
Okay,
and
not a resolution. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's fast.
And number two, do you guys?
At this point,
why was it so important to the Telosians? Like, why? They can read minds.
I know. That was my big question too. It's like, why?
Get off. I don't know.
Have you never seen the emotional impact of and then I thought about it and I thought, well, maybe it's because he's a hybrid. And he's been constantly reminded of that since day one or something?
I think you're ignoring the fact that the Telosians are natural meddlers. They meddle in the affairs of the universe. This is why they're...
like my mother.
I think we're heading into something there, Raul.
Well, here's the thing about this. As to why do the Telosians care? See, here's the thing. I didn't realize until the very end that this was a quid pro quo deal. Okay, I thought they needed this in order to be able to help Spock.
Right?
No, they just wanted their.
They just wanted.
It's like they want it for like family.
Hold on. There's an episode of Voyager where they land on this planet and these people they trade in angry emotions. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, is this like the same thing? Do these guys
get off on it?
Yeah,
I mean, not to be crude, but
they've got no one else. Is the thing. So around them, it's
the shuttle also pointed out, Sean, that they had been nuked in a war, and that there wasn't many of them left. Maybe this is
that's the point. Yeah. So who are they going to trade? Who are they going to get these stories?
I think you might be honest. I think you might be onto something.
You also have to remember. You also have to remember in the cage. The whole reason they captured Pike was not only to mate with Vina, but to create a human workforce to run the machines that they didn't even know how to run.
Yeah.
Well, and also to repopulate the planet and
it was a repopulation strategy.
It was a package deal, as Raul would say.
So, and I think the Telosians. I think this is more about that. Like they said, they need this. It's because I don't get off it. It was the right thing to say.
I don't think it's sexual.
It's just a matter of they don't have it.
Oh, I'm just using that as
they need this kind of emotional satisfaction.
It makes them feel gratified, right? I'm being jokey when I say get off. I'm just saying,
that you had their powers, right? Just for a moment, and then imagine the amount, just the raw power that just a few of you wield.
If you can make someone,
So they need that vulnerability. I think that they needed that feel of vulnerability because what powerful people want is to feel normal again. That's exactly what it is.
And it makes sense, Raul, based on what you just said, because the shuttle mentioned specifically that they had been a advanced civilization that had a nuclear war, and there's a small population that survived. So they're trying to find meaning. They're trying to
meaning is important.
Exactly, and I think you're onto something there.
See, I don't necessarily think that's the answer in the first place. Because if you are that powerful in the first place, there's an entire universe for you to pull those emotions out
They
of.
only have a certain.
They're
Yeah, but
isolated.
these guys
They're
can't.
isolated,
These
son.
guys can't even hook up the stereo. On
Yeah.
Yeah, I
They're-
think
they're-
that's the point.
Like,
They're
if you
run out of
can,
their own technology and they're isolated.
I'm not
That's why-
Right.
talking about their technology. I'm literally
But they
talking
need the
about
technology to take advantage
they
of the
need
universe.
it to communicate.
Because their
Yeah,
range, son, is very limited as far as. Unless someone
No!
kills them.
Oh, no! That was said in the episode by Vina. They could create an illusion across space.
But Vina
For a
also
across the
short
said.
entire
period
Vina
of
also
time.
for short periods of time. Guess
Right.
what? Guess
but
what?
they do have a range limit. That's all I'm
Jump
saying.
scares exist.
But they have a range limit.
Jump
we
scares
don't,
exist.
we don't know that there's a range limit. We know there's a time limit. That's
Oh,
inversely
that's true.
Right.
proportional to the range.
Exactly.
All right, I'll give you that. Yep.
Jump
And-
scares exist.
What do jump scares have to do with this? I mean, you said
I
it
don't
3
know
times
what
now.
that means.
The fear and the emotion that is involved in a jump scare is almost exactly what Spock went through. It's
And
just
what Pike
done
went
really,
through.
really quickly.
When he saw her reflection in that desk, that was pretty cool.
That whole scene with Spock and Burnham, that's literally a condensed ball of a jump scare.
Let's not go too. Let me ask you guys this. Okay, so we have reached as far as the episode's longevity. So Vina is important. Everything's important, but the last big moment.
I hate to cut you off before you go to the last part.
Hold on, Sean.
Can we just talk about how cute little Spock was?
I was actually.
He was
gonna-
adorable.
I swear to
Oh my
God, I was
God.
going to bring that up.
So
I'm not just
adorable.
saying that. He was incredible. Carlos mentioned this last week. He was great.
But Burnham, I love you.
Right?
Hey, that's
I
the
know.
thing. That I think is the only time we've ever known that Spock has used the words "I love you."
He was awesome.
Yeah.
And I want to mention that not only was little Spock cute, it makes me think like, okay, they had little Archie comics. They need to now do
Little
if
Spock
you're-
comics.
Little Spock comics.
Spock.
Exactly.
L.I.
encounters,
apostrophe L.
The Adventures of Little Spock with an L-I-L
Spock reads
apostrophe.
Archie and the gang.
Yep.
I'd read the shit. Out of
I'd
that
read the
comic
shit
book.
out of that too. You're right. I would actually try to
I
work
think
on
little
that.
Spock comics are great. I think it's a thing. Let's get this going.
No, it has to be little Spock, not little Spock. There's a difference.
Yeah, Lil.
Yes.
So do we know what the name of his pet Saylat is?
Oh yeah, it was
yeah.
like Shikara or something like that.
Yeah, well, something
Because then we could have a Calvin and Hobbes.
Sakaya. I'm gonna look
I
it
think
up.
it was Sakaya.
Let's look
Because
it
then
up,
we could
guys.
have a Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh,
Just with Spock and his Saylat.
my God. I'm just saying. All right, so
That's some serious begging for the estate of Bill Watterson to come after you stuff right there.
before I start wrapping
that's
things
like
up,
the Sue Star Trek one.
Exactly.
Okay, I have one thing I have to say before we wrap
you
things
could
up.
say more than one thing, but go ahead.
Okay, so in that last scene, I think it was the last scene, after they land back in the shuttle, and by the way, for the record, that was a Discovery shuttle. It was not a Section 31 shuttle.
That's right.
It's the same shuttle that Burnham left Discovery on, and that's the one she took Spock to the Section 31 ship on, and they escaped on. So all the same shuttle. Okay, but when they get off the shuttle and they're met by Pike and the others, and there was this beautiful moment where Pike turns to Spock and Spock says basically it's good to see you, and then he has that little smile and Pike says, "Mr.
Yeah,
Spock,
smile.
was that a smile?"
Yeah.
And Spock says, "Yes, it was." That's not the moment. The moment is right after that when you look at Burnham and her
And she
eyebrow
does the
goes up.
fascinating thing.
She does the fascinating eyebrow.
She raises her eyebrow.
I
I
thought that
remember
was
that.
so great.
That was perfect. Because she's the human sister raised by Sarek, and she is the one that raises her eyebrow. Like, fascinating.
This was a George Burns and Gracie Allen moment. If you guys are not,
I know exactly
Oh,
what you're
yeah.
saying.
Yeah,
My
it's
mother's
exactly-
name is...
Especially over on the other ship with George O.
And Sean, before you finish what you're going to say, just for reference, my mother's last name is Burns, and George Burns and Gracie Allen were a big, when I was growing up, if they had the internet back then with YouTube, it would have been like, watch this,
Yeah,
but it was a big deal.
It's very weird. I'm kind of I've got a very odd connection to that past generation, even though I didn't live through it, with Burns and Allen and Jack Benny and Groucho Marx. So it's I'll occasionally throw in references like that.
Carry on, sir.
Say goodbye, Spock. Goodbye, Spock.
Well, I mean, okay. Were you going to say something, Sean? I didn't know if you had something to follow up on that.
No, I didn't. But here's the thing. We're looking for Achaya. That's what we're looking for. Achaya.
I said that like 5 minutes ago.
He did.
Oh, okay. What the hell I look it
up. So my
that?
favorite. Well, okay. So one last thing. Not one last thing, but so I saw this coming a mile away. But the illusion of Spock and Burnham was spoiled by one of their own promos. This is one of the things I'm pissed off about. CBS All Access.
It was spoiled. It was spoiled by The Last Jedi. Let's be serious.
Yeah, that's true. But they were spoiled by the fact that he goes, "Say goodbye, Spock." Goodbye, Spock, and he holds up and they disappear. They spoiled that on a commercial last week, and I was.
Did they? Wait a minute. Do they actually show them disappearing in the commercial?
Yes.
I don't think they did.
It was no. They well, you might be right. They may not have actually disappeared, but the point is it was there.
We didn't know we had no context. You didn't know what that meant.
I'm just saying. George, it was kind of...
George knows what all context means, Carlos. Don't you realize that?
Okay, so now that we're at the end of the episode, let's get on to this hater talk. There you go.
Yes, exactly. Raul, I'll let you lead this because you want.
Okay. I've noticed. I have not been paying attention to the haters much, but I noticed that they all seem to center on the fact that they like the show now that there's a white captain back in control, a white male captain. They hated the show when it centered around Burnham. They hated the show when it had things to do with Saru or Stamets and his husband or stuff like that. Get the fuck over it. The 1960s are gone and they're never coming back. I want you to listen to my words very carefully. Science fiction moves forward, not backwards, and your repressive bullshit is not tolerated anymore. It's not.
Raul,
I think that's well put, Raul. I think the thing that, as it became clearer to me as I read more and more articles about this, and Jonathan Lane wrote about it in Fan Film Factory the other day, and I realized, oh God, this is the same thing. They don't even know they're doing it.
They don't.
They see.
It's like an
Great White Savior, and it makes them feel better because it's their people.
That's right.
It's
sad. It's sad. To me, it's sad. Oh, I can only say that it's sad, and it reminds me of past generations where you look at them, say something, and all you can say is, "Well, they'll be dead soon." And it's a terrible thing to say, but that's the only reaction you can have.
It's so funny you say. I mean, it's not funny. It's sad you say that because I was thinking the same thing today. It's like, I'm that close to putting up a shit post that basically said, I want to address this issue because it comes down to the fact that, okay, all right, so we get that why did they change the Klingons? Why are there so many people of color? Why are there gay people on Star Trek? Do you know why? Here's why. To fucking piss you off and to get you the fuck away from the fandom. That's why
you heard it here, folks. Sean P. O'Halloran has all the answers.
Well, that's it. Because here's the thing: that older generation, that's not who they're targeting with CBS All Access. They're targeting a much younger audience.
They're targeting the people that jumped on track with the JJ track.
Right, yeah, exactly. They're targeting the people that don't think twice about having 5 or 6 streaming services and paying for them. Okay, that's who they're targeting. They're not targeting these people that are still pissing and moaning because it's not on a network and it's not quote unquote free. Okay, right. And that's who these people are. That's who these big whiners and complainers about this are. It's this old guard, this last generation that's angry about all the wrong things.
All I have to say is that they're dinosaurs and the meteor is coming. That's all I have to say.
All right. Carlos.
Yeah, that's it.
Carlos, 1 to 10. What would you rate this episode?
I don't do this very often, but I'm giving this one a 10. I think it was ambitious, and it met its ambitions. I thought the acting was... We've never seen acting like that throughout an entire episode of Star Trek before, ever.
I completely agree.
And I would like to point out that it was emotional without being sappy.
Wait
was
for your turn, sir.
It was heart-wrenching.
Wait for your turn.
Well,
Right.
I can contact.
I know. I'm joking.
With Carlos.
I know. I'm joking. So you're giving it a 10, and Carlos, I'm going to match you. I'm going to match you. That I think it's a 10. I think, for me, when you rate an episode, I think that you have to be critical a little bit. Over time, I've said, I'm going to be jumping on the hype bandwagon. I might immediately say sometimes, like, something's a 9 or a 10. But if you look at the whole breakdown, I've watched it at least 3 times, and I'm going to say 10. It's very... 9.5, 10. I'm going to say 10. I'm going to give it that favor of rewatch. You have to catch all the details. So I'm going to say 10. Very rare, like you said. Kasey, what do you think? Out of 10.
Out of 10, I would agree on the 10. It's a very strong episode all the way through.
And you're saying this completely...
Oh, I'm getting money from Carlos. That's why I'm saying it.
And favors, Casey. Don't
all
knock
paid.
it.
I sent paid chills.
I sent Dave Galanter 2 cents over Facebook once, and he sent it back to me. It was weird. But anyways. No, that really did happen.
You guys
really
admitting on air that you're paid chills, I have not. I've not seen a dime from anybody, so...
It's a joke. It's a joke. I told Dave Galanter one time, he goes, if you want my 2 cents, and I literally sent him 2 cents over Facebook Messenger.
I'm not knocking that I know that you're kidding. I just want to put it out there that I'm not a shill because, hey, look, I'm the one that always seems to have the contrarian opinion.
And Dave sent it back to me.
Except I've agreed with you almost all night, son, except for that one point.
That's right.
I'm paid in fajitas. Everyone knows this.
In fajitas.
We know no pants.
Fajitas with bonuses of extra sour cream and guacamole. Direct from CBS. Everyone knows
I get paid in
which makes the
pants.
no pants thing kind of difficult for us.
Yeah.
And creepy.
And I have to ask you, Sean, one quick question before we move on to Raul's opinion about the episode. When you say you wear no pants, when you are wearing pants, are they jeans or are they docks or what are you wearing?
That's a little personal, don't you think?
They're jeggings.
It's a kilt. It's a kilt, guys.
Because we're avoiding that. We're dodging that
freedom
question.
And the air.
All right.
Very, very tight jeans.
Okay, so Kasey gives it a 10. I give it a 10.
I give it a 9, and I'll explain why, guys. Before you destroy me, the truth is that while I found it to be an emotional and an acting tour de force for our actors in this series, I can't quite give anything a 10. It's very difficult.
I have no problem with you having high standards, my friend.
A lot of people have that. It's not. You're not. Raw. I don't fault you for that because 10 implies perfection. There's simply some critics who just refuse to do it.
For me, 10 is not perfection. For me, 10 is the best.
Hitting all the.
Well, you've had a better dating life than me, Carlos. That's all that says.
I think we've already established that's not true.
Yeah. So, Raul, you give it a 10 for your own reasons. Keep going if you have more to say.
Give it a 9.
No. I gave it a 9.
Oh, I'm sorry, 9. Sorry.
Yeah. No. That was it. That's it. And thank you for your support, guys.
Okay. And Sean, what are you at?
Well, solid 6, I guess. No, I'm just kidding.
Turn that around.
Actually, no. Here's the thing. I kind of shot my wad last week by giving the last week's episode 10 because I really didn't love it that much. So I'm going to exceed the scale this time. This is even better than the last 10 I gave it. So it's an 11. Okay?
It's a better 10.
5.
You've turned it up to 11.
It goes to 11.
I think so far it's fair to say that every episode has gotten better.
I think you guys.
I'm so amazed. I hate to sound like a broken record,
No,
But
it's true.
This is really the best Trek we've seen in a long time.
I agree.
It's coming out. We're getting to the point where we're starting to be able to say that this is the best season of Star Trek ever.
We're not there yet, but I'm starting to think you're right.
I know. It's like I hate saying it because it's like
I don't want them to ruin it. You know? That's the only thing, guys. I'm very scared.
Because it is very
okay, let's do this. I'm curious. What other seasons, as entire seasons of Star Trek, do you think are in the same league?
DS9 season 7.
But it's not
fourth season DS9.
No, 7.
I'm a huge fan of I'm a massive fan of Deep Space Nine. I study that show. But here's the thing about it. That show is 24 episodes. I think it's a two-parter. There's a two-parter at the end. 24 episodes, of which 13 of them are filler. I swear
it wasn't actually two-parted, but I understand where you're going.
What You Leave Behind is actually considered a two-part episode, even though it's one part.
Yeah, because syndication is broken.
The best single episode was the Ferengi episode with the DS9, where they form like the Terrible Five, and they go on a mercenary mission. I think that by far is my favorite episode of Star Trek ever.
Not me, but I want to hear Son before we
Magnificent
carry on.
Ferengi, yes.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I'm sorry for Son. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Son, so that we can get everybody's views, out of 10.
7.
That's fair. Well, but can you give a little bit of a breakdown?
I knew it.
See, here's the thing. I really do. I do enjoy the interplay in this episode. Just why? Why did you need the Telosian? Why did you need the Telosian?
The Telosians are like a Sherpa at an orgy.
I mean, there was. It's like, okay.
As opposed to what, Son? What do you think the other options were?
I want to hear more about this Sherpa.
Honestly,
that's
I don't know.
That's a different podcast.
Honestly, I don't know. Like, to me, it seems really odd that it's like, oh, we have to go to the Telosians to fix Spock's brain. Okay.
No, it was Spock saying, I need to get to the Telosians to fix my brain.
Not only that, but Dr. McCoy is the real
but it was written that way. Therefore, the writing staff said, we go to Telosia to fix Spock's brain.
Real quick before we end the show, and I ask you guys where we can find you, which I'm not sure if people should. Real quick, what do we think of Gregory Peck? Ethan Peck. I'm sorry. Well,
Gregory Peck.
Man, we all love Gregory Peck, but like Ethan Peck.
Oh, I can't believe we forgot to talk about the best damn line in the whole episode,
which was
where he says, "Do you have anything in your arsenal that what was it? Spock, anything in your arsenal that resembles a good question or something like that?" And she's like, "The beard. What were you thinking?
Oh yeah,
does it work for you?"
Yeah.
That was awesome because they were having such a tense exchange, and all of a sudden she's just boom.
They are.
It's like that is a brother and a sister.
That's definitely British banter. 100% British banter.
I am looking forward to how, because this is not an isolated. You know what I like about the fact? How many episodes do we have left? Like 8. This was number 8, so there's
we have 6 left.
Okay, there's plenty of time for them to. By the time we get to the end, I'm feeling confident based on the track record they're having. The trajectory is that they are doing so well that I feel by the end of this season we're going to be very happy.
Here's the thing.
Don't jinx it.
Well,
although in point of fact, it is all in the can, so it is what it is.
I'm just saying based on what we've seen so far.
Yeah, right. This is like a Schrodinger's cat thing. But here's the thing: is that for the first 6 episodes that we were discussing last week, it was a completely different production staff and showrunner and everything else that was handling this, and those were done magnificently. And it's only gotten better since. Is the thing. So with the new staff, this is really looking fantastic. Kasey, I want to hear your thoughts on this really quick. We're all saying here that this is starting to look like the best season of Trek ever. What do you think about that idea?
Oh, I think everybody's on par because it has been either a solid episode after solid episode or a great episode after a great episode. And when you have a limited amount of episodes you're doing, like you were talking about earlier, there's no time for filler. Right. And I love that. So far, this has been just like consistently excellent, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't have if we had done the show last year. My opinions would not have been the same. I mean, I've been very critical of the first season. I enjoyed it, but it's nothing like this season. This is just so far and above anything that I
How
ever
great is
expected
it though
be.
that we can have a show
Yeah.
where they can only get better, and we can talk about this without being the haters, and we can sit there and sit there and say realistically that we can break it down as to why this show's can take something as old as The Cage, the very first directed and filmed Star Trek episode with the very first aliens on Star Trek, and change the alien. We haven't talked about that. The Telosians are the first, besides Spock, are the first Star Trek aliens ever.
Yeah.
And they did the makeup over, and they did something that some people have complained about, which is the last time they were all a female cast, which was interesting. But this time they introduced at least one male into the mix. An obvious male, what I mean is, you know what I mean. But I think that the redo of the makeup, I haven't only heard a few complaints.
I think it's quite good, actually.
It's great.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think if you go back and look at the original makeup,
especially
in high def, it needed to be redone. It's
Yes.
50 years old.
It was great for the time.
I think the most. I'll admit, the Telosians as a redone species, I'm impressed. I'm more impressed by the special effects. Because if you remember The Cage and the Menagerie, the Telosians just had throbbing heads whenever they did their magic. Now we have an electric light show in the veins of their head when they do their magic.
Yeah, I like it.
I agree. I think that, and the fact that
I always did like the throbbing, though. It looked cool.
Yeah, it was pretty throbbing.
You would like throbbing.
Oh, shit. Let's not go there.
Throb.
Because we have veins and everything.
I mean, come on, let's be honest. Carlos walked right into that one.
He
throbbing.
did.
Hey, I'm embracing that one.
I'm not trying to snicker too much, but I'm like, you know what I mean?
That's not snicker. That's a giggle.
That's not snickering. That's a Pillsbury Nose Boy.
I was trying to recreate the snicker I did when my button wasn't pushed down, but it just failed. But anyways,
your button wasn't pushed.
So the Telosians...
Oh, you're talking about the button on the. Never mind.
Oh, that button. Yes, I'm sorry. Come on, Carl. Raul.
We're not the same. Damn it, white man. We're not the same.
I only see Baul in this chat.
See. Here's the thing. Raul can't call George Sean because that would be a fucking compliment.
That's right. It's a step up.
What?
God damn.
I don't know. Sean's got a lap full of nachos right now with no pants on, so that could be trouble.
Do you know how many
idea what you
people...
were walking into here?
Casey, you know what that calls out to me?
Fajitas.
You know what that calls out to me? It's lunchtime, baby. Oh, yeah.
Sean,
we're doing so well, and it all fell apart at the end.
Yep,
I
at
mean,
the end. Yep.
You started it, Carlos.
That's right. It was Carlos' fault.
It's Carlos.
I get more nachos offline than you realize, son. Anyways, I'm just kidding.
Hey, who you talking to?
Ghostbusters? I don't know. Who you gonna call? Anyway.
Not you!
Okay, so wrapping up.
Oh, speaking of which, so let's not forget to talk about the new group, Facebook group we started.
That's right.
I'm going to say out, this
Focus
is
home.
We have not just the fact that we have, if you guys go to Facebook, by the way, Super Geeks 7 on Facebook, but you can go to, and I'm going to link all this stuff, but Sean helped us create a new group called TR The Real Super Geeks. Now, the reason I called it TR Super Geeks is because there's a lot of Super Geeks out there that, like, after the show got made, that people were like, but they're not podcasts. So I was going back into the Real Ghostbusters joke, because back in the day, the Ghostbusters had to differentiate themselves legally from the Filmation Ghostbusters cartoon. So they said the Real Ghostbusters. So I decided it would be funny if I called it TR Super Geeks, the Real Super Geeks. So we have a group. Sean, what is the? We're gonna link it, but what is the?
I was thinking that was more like HR puffin stuff.
It's kind of like that. It is.
I think here's the thing. I forgot what I made. I think it's at TR Super Geeks, but it might be at The Real Super Geeks. Try them both, folks. Give it a shot. But that's on Facebook.
Yeah, I'll link y'all. And you can also find us on Subspace Radio on Mondays when they air at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern time for the whatever latest episodes. It's usually 2 in a row that we post out there. And of course, we will link the stuff. And as far as social media goes, Kasey, where can people find you if they want to find you?
Well, they could find me at uhaul.com. I'm organizing some patches that I've had for a few years.
Moving of a studio, that type of thing?
Well, I call it a studio. Some people call it, a 4x4 storage unit. But that's just me.
Those ain't cheap. I spend like $75 a month on mine.
It isn't. It's not easy to do.
Me? You have too much crap. You have too much crap too, Sean, by the way.
My girlfriend spends a lot more than that.
Well, I mean, he sits there and eats nachos and has to hold it in for 2 hours. Duh.
I do have too much crap. Womp
womp. Carlos, where can people, if you want them to find you, where can people find you on social media?
They can find me on Twitter at cpedraza, also at AxeMonitor, on the web at axemonitor.com, and on Facebook and the Axe Monitor Facebook group, and also via our new newsletter, Axe Monitor Daily, which you can sign up for on the Axe Monitor website.
And
so you have something to do with Axe Monitor?
Sort of.
Yeah. One or two things.
He's like,
Mostly I clean up after,
Yeah.
Kasey, are you aware of this whole thing called Axonar? I'm just curious. Do you know anything about it?
I'm usually too
easy
busy
people
at my shift at the Pink Pony,
now.
So
oh my
God. That's just me.
See, here's the thing. I'm the complete reverse of this. I have no clue who the hell Kasey is. So,
and I didn't either until tonight.
Pinkpony.com. Bring your quarters.
Oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
And you know what? I feel confident that Kasey had no clue who I was either. So guess what?
I think I'm being led to a meat spin reference.
Son, I'm going to skip ahead to you. Where can people find you? Yeah, see, son, I'm going to jump ahead to you until I go backwards, but where can people find you if you want to be found?
You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/SunsealFan. That's generally where I post the stuff that I've been in, which is slowly trickling out of YouTube.
And Raul, do you want to be found, and where to?
Sure. For the no one that's going to, especially after my speech, for the haters, they're really going to want to find me. Raul.padron.357.
You need to make a page that involves you as a bowel and your life in the tar pits. I'm just saying.
It's not a tar pit. It's just murky.
I mean, I'm thinking it could be like you might actually get the Tasha Yar fans.
That's how I describe my love life.
Murky
dark. Jesus. Look at your language.
Sean, do you have anywhere besides Carlos's
what?
Bandwagon?
Well, I'm going to try to help Kasey out as much with the moving of the patches.
We're talking about you, my friend.
From the storage, you can find me moving the patches from the storage unit and over to the Pink Pony where they belong. But also, and now we have me at the Axe Monitor Facebook group at where am I at Twitter? Sean P. O'Halloran at Sean P. O'Halloran, that's Twitter. And where's the other one? Now I'm at the Real Super Geeks, TR Super Geeks on Facebook, and
we're a group, guys.
We're gonna keep
Sean
going. Yep.
Sean now has more that he can offer to the table.
Oh my!
Every time I ask him now.
Oh my!
Tomorrow night when we do our regular show, I want you to have this memorized as your homework. All right. Kasey, I want to thank you for joining us. I enjoyed you being here. I think we had a good episode.
And
thank you.
He wants to plug something. Come on.
I already asked him.
Okay.
He already asked. I'm just going to plug Sean's lap nachos.
Oh. Yeah. Come hungry.
And remember, those are courtesy of CBS. Thank you.
Oh, not you shill.
All right, you guys.
Yes,
I want to
sir.
thank every. Go ahead.
No, I'd say yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to thank everybody for joining us as usual, and I already told you where you can find us. So, and it will all be linked. But we'll talk to you the next time. And after we do the Star Trek Discovery episodes, which is we've got a few more episodes to go. I want you guys to stick around because we got some other things coming up. We have Game of Thrones. That's going to be cool. And yeah, that'll be cool. So just stick around because we have some stuff down the pipe. Talk to you the next time.
No, don't you mean down the pike?
Down the pike. Down the pike.
Oh, Carlos, we know you want to go down on the pike.
Carlos made us go there. Talk to you guys next time.